And the next question we will be addressing is question number 2 from the multiple choice questions in financial literacy section from the year 2025. Okay, so the question was about payback period. Okay, so before we proceed with the solution of this question, I invite you all to start with visualization of this problem. Okay, so whenever I have a question with cash flows related to a project or an investment, I like to start with drawing a timeline of these cash flows. Okay, so we have a project that lasts how many years? 4 years. Okay, so at date 0, we have an original investment of $240,000. Okay, so I'm gonna abbreviate it 240K. K here stands for thousand. Okay, and I'm gonna mark 4 years worth of cash flow. So this will be year 1, 2, 3, and 4. Every year, the project will generate $60,000. That net here probably means that it's the cash flow net of any expenses that in the future might be incurring. So this is the cash flow that project kind of generates for us, so we can take out of the project without sabotaging the project. Okay. So this is with a minus, it's an investment, and then 60,000 each year comes out of this project. Okay. And at the end of the 4th year period, what we're going to do is we're going to liquidate whatever is left in the project, and that will give us a residual value of 120,000. Okay. Now, what is our payback period? Okay, so this question in particular has cash flows for the 4 years of equal amount. So in this version of the problem, it's relatively easy to calculate payback period. So what we notice is that if we sum up all these 4 cash flows, we will get 240,000, which is exactly matches our investment, and therefore that 4 years is the minimum number of years over which the accumulated cash flows cover our investment. Okay, so you will notice that the payback period formula is rather simple. It ignores time value of money. So we are not discounting our cash flows in the future. We're just very roughly summing them up. Okay. So in practice, this method of calculating is it kind of like characterizing our investment project through payback period is rather crude, right? It doesn't let us know if it's a worthy investment project to undertake or not. Typically, if you talk to investors, they would say that they're using this payback period as an initial screening of investment projects. Is it even worth to consider talking about the details, the investment plan, anything, right? So if the payback period is too long, some investors might say, okay, this is not for me. This is way too kind of long until I can hope to recover my money. And if the payback period is shorter, then investors might be more interested in it. But that by no means tell you if the investment project is worthy undertaking or not. Again, we ignore discounting, we ignore risk, we ignore all of those things in our payback period calculation. Okay, so this is something to keep in mind, that as a metric of worthy of investment or not, the payback period is ignoring time value of money, risk involved in the projects, all of those things. It's a very crude metric. Okay, so just to confirm, it's in this version of the question, the answer is B. Now let me try to offer you another version of this problem, the way that the problem could have looked like. That would be a little bit more difficult. Okay, so suppose again I'm generating a different question. This is not the question that was given in the Olympiad, but slightly different question. So different. And let me immediately point out that this would be maybe a somewhat harder version of the problem. Okay, so I'm going to put a star over here for making it just slightly bit harder. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer you exactly the same timeline, but instead of the same cash flows every period, which made the calculation in the question number 2 simple, what I'm going to offer you is a set of cash flows that are not stable, not the same every period. So we're going to start with the investment of $240,000 as in the original question. And then in year number one, instead of $60,000, I'm going to make the cash flow to be $160,000. And then in year number two, our cash flow will fall back to 60. In year number three, the cash flow will be 60,000 again. And in year number four, it is 60,000 again. And then again, plus the residual value of $120,000. Okay. So now in this version of the problem, we notice that in the first year, we're still below 240 investments. So the payback period is longer than 1 year. If I add up first 2 years, I get 220,000. Okay, so we're getting already close to the kind of the watermark that we have to clear, right? So the level, okay, the 240 original investment. Okay, so now if I add a third here, so 220 plus 60, I will be at 280,000. Okay, so I'm over 240. So my payback period is somewhere in between my second and third year. Okay, once again, to simplify the problem solution, let's use visualization. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw net cash flow, net cumulative cash flow for all of this for this project over all the years. Okay, so what I'm going to start is with timeline that mimics exactly the timeline that I had above, but I'm going to add a y-axis. So on the y-axis, what I'm going to put is the cumulative amount of money that this project generated. So we started with an outflow of $240,000. That's our original investment. In year one, I add minus 240 plus 160, and I'm going to be still in the minus, right? So at year one, I have 240 with a minus plus 1,000 plus 160, okay? So that's minus 80. Okay, so I'm still in the minus. Now in the second year, I'm gonna add 60 to that. And so I put the dot for minus 20. Okay, so I have minus 20,000 still cumulative. So I have 20,000 to cover. At the end of the third year, I am gonna be at 280 total, 280 minus 240. So I'm gonna have extra 40. Okay, so I am gonna be at the 40,000 with the plus. So this is where I will end up. So if I connect those three dots and probably ideally, this should be a straight line. So pardon my drawings, but so this on the straight line, that straight line crosses zero. So that's the number we are after. That's the exact payback period. Okay. So let me remind you. So this is 20,000 that deficit we had at the end of the year two. That excess we had at the end of the third year is 40. Okay, so that line over here is 40,000. Okay. And what we are after is how many what's this distance after year two? Okay, so what I'm going to use is mathematical regularity to figure out this distance. I'm going to put it x, I'm going to put this 1 minus x, and I'm going to say that x over 20 is the same as 1 minus x over 40. So this is from algebra, this relationship. You can just memorize the formula if you don't want to rederive it every time. For me, it's much easier to remember the mathematical expressions rather than remembering the formula. So up to you. So if I solve this, I will get 40x equal to 20 minus 20x. So 60x is equal to 20, and then x is equal to 1/3. So what I know is that my payback period in my this extra slightly more difficult problem is payback period would be equal to 2 years. plus 1/3. Okay, so 2.33 in perpetuity. Okay, so this is kind of what I do, what we expect you to be comfortable to know in terms of the information about payback period. Let me know if you have any questions.